As we continue to learn more about the alleged assassin who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, we're also seeing a cascade of people being fired for their comments, appearing to celebrate Kirk's passing, including Office Depot, which fired a worker for refusing to print a memorial poster. Also, the NFL's Carolina Panthers football team said they fired an employee for a social media post appearing to mock Kirk's death. And then Bengals player nonprofit, the Joe Burrow Foundation, also fired an advisory board member who they say made inappropriate remarks in light of recent events. News Nation's Jorge Ventura live with more. And Jorge, we know the list is growing of more workers being fired from their jobs. What's the latest on this?
Yeah, that's right, Natasha. Those firings are racking up, and many of those social media posts either mocking or celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk are actually being amplified by conservative influencers or activists with large accounts. Some of these accounts, like Libs of TikTok, have over 4 million followers and are encouraging their audience to contact the employers of those making the posts. And one of those companies facing the online backlash from Kirk supporters is Delta Airlines, the company announcing the suspension and investigation into some of their employees, saying that their social media posts went well beyond healthy, respectful debate and that they were in stark contrast to the company's policies. We've also seen the NASDAQ firing a junior level employee on Friday as well. The NASDAQ also citing zero tolerance policy towards violence and commentary that condones or celebrates the murder of Charlie Kirk. We are seeing this across the board in different jobs, in sectors.
Meanwhile,
if you or someone you know have been fired by a company that is caving to white supremacy right now, we have created a website that will be up in about 24 hours called Fired for Freedom, firedforfreedom.visual.com. This website lists out businesses and schools for terminating employees for freedom of expression. There will also be a link to email us if you have been targeted by doxing white supremacists.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the left, boohoo, whining, and crying, cancel culture, over the fact that they're facing accountability for recklessly mocking and celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, the assassination of Charlie Kirk publicly, right? Going online and celebrating his death. A lot of people are now being held accountable for that because companies don't want to be associated with this type of disgusting act of celebration from these liberals. And I want to talk about it because they're panicking, right? They're crying foul. They're saying this is wrong. It is wrong to cancel people for mocking and celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, which again is currently happening right now. Liberals are losing their jobs because they decided it would be a good idea to show their asses on the internet for a few clicks and likes from a crowd of lunatics. Take a look.
Thousands of people have gone online celebrating the passing of Charlie Kirk, and many of them are now losing their jobs. Many of the people you've seen cheering on the passing of Charlie Kirk started with this man who just moments after Charlie Kirk was struck, right in front of him, was cheering on video that Charlie Kirk was hit. Then you have this woman who was a nurse going on TikTok celebrating the passing of Charlie Kirk, and now people have found out where she works and are talking to her employers. This man who wrote this entire statement here is actually in the military, and people have already alerted Pete Hegseth, who is essentially this man's boss, and will probably be trying to do something about it. You have another woman who is a 2nd and 3rd grade teacher's aide who was posting about that she wished she would have heard of another obituary talking about Donald Trump, but instead she would settle for Charlie Kirk. And this man, probably the most prominent person to be fired after their comments on Charlie Kirk, was Matthew Dowd, who was actually working at MSNBC and went on air saying some absolutely terrible things. But more and more of these videos are coming out, and more of these people are going to be losing their jobs.
I was like, somebody actually posted this.
A Barrington teacher tonight put on paid leave after parents say the teacher posted inappropriate comments on social media about the shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
No remorse, no nothing. It was more so, oh, he got what was coming for him.
Parents say the post in question was a TikTok video. It's since been taken down, but parents we spoke with still saw it.
It was a post of a male teacher who is saying that the killing was justifiable.
Barrington Superintendent Chris Ashley first announced the school's actions to parents over email before addressing the issue again at tonight's school committee meeting.
We will be conducting an outside investigation into this.
can't discuss the details.
Any acts of political violence cannot be tolerated.
Parents tell us the teacher in the alleged video works in the high school and is involved in the union. Multiple parents spoke out during public comment tonight.
Having the most evil reaction to someone's death is literally disgusting.
To make our students feel safe, our conservative students feel safe, our Christian students feel safe, he needs to be removed.
The school said that he's now on paid administrative leave. Is that enough?
No, it sets the precedent that you can say whatever you want on the internet and nothing will ever happen.
And I asked the school committee for the name of that teacher. They wouldn't give it to me. On Monday, the school committee will determine who that independent investigator is going to be.
A employee is fired following the death of Charlie Kirk. The university says the employee made what they believe to be inappropriate remarks about Kirk's death on social media. School president Sidney McPhee said in a statement, "It was a tremendous disappointment to have to take this step. We take great pride in the professionalism of our staff. In my long tenure with this university, I've never before had to dismiss someone for so carelessly undermining the work and mission of this fine institution." McPhee says the fired employee had a leadership role in the Office of Student Care and Conduct. The firing does come after MTSU was named one of the top 15 universities in the nation for its commitment to free speech. That ranking given by the Foundation for Individual Rights earlier this week.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, like I told you guys, liberals, leftists are now crying foul over this. They're saying this is cancel culture. Okay, and they're trying to call out conservatives for hypocrisy in supporting cancel culture against leftists celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. Take a look.
This example of MAGA's double standard on free speech is almost unbelievable. You have to see this with your own eyes. So on August 15th of this year, Olivia says hate speech is still free speech. Cry about it. Then one day ago, she says, "I feel like a Karen with the amount of calls I've made to employers. Anyway, back at it again today." She then went on Newsmax and said, "I've contacted over 706 employers and delegated hundreds of other submissions to people who offered to help. I will not stand for the vile, hateful comments made about Charlie Kirk and his wife." But I'm confused because just 1 month ago she was defending hateful comments towards other people. What changed? It's very clear the MAGA crowd only cares about free speech when they agree with it.
Republicans have just made a database of 20 to 30,000 people who made fun of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And the thing that I find interesting about this is that these are the same exact people that complain about cancel culture. And they want to dox people who don't react the way that they want them to react to their favorite content creator passing away. Yeah, they're all hypocrites. All of them are hypocrites.
Well, the real danger is calling out fascism, not the fascism itself. Watch this.
The rhetoric that led us to this moment, calling President Trump a fascist, calling him Hitler. You had news organizations and mainstream media celebrating that, allowing those things to take place and be said on their networks. Right. That is dangerous. So people that are celebrating Charlie's murder, celebrating a political assassination, that should never happen in the United States of America. And Maria, we must do more. We must stand firm, and there must be consequences with regards to people spewing that type of hate and celebration in the face of this. And I believe that there will be, and I certainly plan to hold them accountable. So if you are out there and you are celebrating the political assassination of a man who was exercising his free speech, a very foundational element, a cornerstone of who we are as the United States of America, you should be held accountable. You should be fired. And that is the beginning and the end of it. Full stop.
And there it is. Katie Britt saying people should be fired for what they say. Fired. This from the same crowd that whines about cancel culture every time one of their own faces consequences. You can't scream about free speech and then turn around and demand people lose their jobs for speech you don't like. That's not principle. That's hypocrisy. Now, I'll be real with you. I don't like people celebrating that assassination either. But here's the thing. This is America. And in America, the First Amendment doesn't just cover the speech you cheer for. It covers the speech you can't stand. That's the whole point. Freedom means you don't get to play speech police. You don't get to cancel people just because their words make you uncomfortable. That's what separates a free republic from the authoritarianism they pretend to oppose.
It's funny how a certain group of people was always against cancel culture, right? Now they're bragging about how many people are getting fired for talking negatively about what happened in Utah to that person. How they're talking about, hey, if you talk negative about this situation, they're tracking you and they're making a count of how many people they're getting fired. Not too long ago, oh, cancel culture is over with, and they're doing the same thing. You know, they were always 10 toes down when it came to free speech. Oh, if you're not saying anything good about a particular person, then you could get canceled. The same culture that they was against. Remember, we're over that. No more cancel culture, no more Me Too movement, and they turn around and weaponize the same techniques and tactics that these other movements that was using. And this person said some of the most wildest, craziest things, like civil rights should have never happened. That black people was better off under slavery because we could control their behavior. They committed less crimes. Like some wild stuff, right? And that was good. It was good just a week ago. I'm like, bro, if we're going to do free speech, let's do free speech for everybody, right? Uncensored.
Yeah, so Crystal Ball says, the policing of everyone's thoughts and emotions around Charlie Kirk's death is wild. Cancel culture on steroids backed by the full force of the government. Yeah, so you have the people who expressly support cancel culture, right? That said, when right-wingers were getting canceled for things like, for example, saying the N-word on MySpace when they were 16 years old, right? Things like that. Yeah, they were saying, no, it's actually accountability culture, right? You shouldn't have been a racist when you were 16, right? You should have said the N-word when you were 16, right? These people, for whatever reason, think that what is happening to them right now, because they literally celebrated, mocked, and cheered the assassination, the gruesome assassination of a conservative activist because of his speech, they believe that that is the same thing as them trying to ruin people's lives over saying the N-word as a teenager, because that is what left-wing cancel culture was about, right? Left-wing cancel culture was about canceling people for saying things that were politically incorrect when they were really young, right? Or things that hurt the feelings of liberal. And they cheered this on when it worked in their favor, right? When the culture, when corporate America was overwhelmingly left-wing, right? They were on the side of the radicals, okay? They cheered it on when it benefited them. And they said, no, you don't understand. These companies have a right to fire anybody they want, right? For things that they say on social media, for having racist views or for being a bad person, right? This is what they supported. Now all of a sudden they're upset because what they openly supported is being used against them. Now all of a sudden they want to cry foul, right? Now all of a sudden they don't really understand the First Amendment, because they told us the First Amendment, no, the First Amendment does not apply to a job firing you for your speech, right? No, it only applies to the government. The First Amendment says that the government can't punish you. The government can't lock you up, right? The government can't throw you in jail because of your free speech, right? In which they are correct. That is what the First Amendment applies to, right? It applies to the government. Now all of a sudden they want the First Amendment to apply to corporations. However, again, when the cancel culture was happening to conservatives, they expressly said that employers canceling their employees on social media platforms, banning people in and of itself was a form of free speech for corporate America, right? That, like, the company has the free speech right to not be associated with people that they think have views that don't align with the company, right? Now all of a sudden, all of that goes out the window because corporate America, as we've seen over the past 8 months or so, they are rejecting wokeness, right? They're rejecting far left social ideology. And it's only going to get worse now. It is definitely going to get worse. And that's why these people are now panicking and they're boohoo, whining, crying foul. Because cancel culture only works when the culture is on your side, right? In this situation, because the culture has now shifted towards conservatives, and with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, now it's going to shift even more so. Again, a lot of these liberals are finding out that, wait, hold on now. We're now in the minority, right? We're in the minority. Everybody disagrees with us. Everybody sees us as extremists, and they don't want to be associated with our extremism. Companies don't want to be associated with far left or radical liberal ideology, right? Because again, in order to openly cheer somebody's death, okay, that was assassinated for his free speech, again, you have to be a radical person, right, to openly cheer that. At the very least, it shows that you are a bad person, right? Like you're a person you're distasteful. You don't have any decency, okay? You have no regard whatsoever for humanity. And yeah, I mean, I can see why a lot of companies just wouldn't want to be associated with that, right? Why should companies be forced to be associated with people who have shown themselves to be bad people, right? To have bad character. So now all of a sudden, liberals believe that corporations should be forced to employ hateful people, when just a few years ago, they were actively advocating for companies to fire people for hateful views. But see, now that the tables have turned and people are now starting to see that, hold on, wait. The actual hate in this country is coming from the left. These are the hateful people, right? Again, look at them celebrating a political assassination, right? These are actually people that are hateful. What they're doing is hateful, and companies are saying we want to distance ourselves from that hate. Now all of a sudden, they want to cry foul, right? And then they want to call out conservatives for hypocrisy because conservatives are not saving them. That's what they're asking for. They're asking for conservatives to come out here and save them, and there will be some dumbass, a conservative, that will go online and do this naive, libertarian, pseudo-intellectual stance of, well, see, I'm against cancel culture, and therefore, I don't believe cancel culture is right when it happens to my side, and I don't believe it's right when it happens to their side, right? There are some people who will get online and do that stupid nonsense. I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to come up here and say that, even though I don't agree with cancel culture. But this right here, what's happening to the left, I'm not sure if I would call this cancel culture, right? I actually believe this is accountability culture. That's what this is, okay? That's what this is. I'm not going to come and save these people. If these companies don't want to be associated with it, hey, I'm not going to come out here and tell them what they have to platform or the people that they have to employ their companies. I don't have a say in that. So no, I'm not going to come and save you. I may be against cancel culture, but I'm not going to speak out against what they're doing to you guys, because I personally believe that you deserve it. All of you deserve to be fired. Anybody that's openly mocking Charlie Kirk in his death and celebrate, they deserve to be fired. And the reason why they deserve to be fired is because openly mocking and celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk actually inspires violence. That's actually what it does. And that's not in a hyperbolic way that leftists usually claim stuff like, for example, being tough on crime. Oh, that leads to violence. Oh, being tough on crime is violence. Or disagreeing with me is violence. No. That's not what this is. When you have these people openly celebrating a political assassination, that inspires more people to participate. And the reason why is because you have people that see that, hey, if I go out here and I do this, then I'm going to be celebrated. There's a significant amount of people on the internet that are going to see me as a hero. I just did a story earlier today about some lunatic, a 19-year-old, wearing the same shirt as the Charlie Kirk assassin, vandalizing the memorial outside of Turning Point in Phoenix, Arizona. Why did he do that? Well, he did that because he knew that he had an audience of lunatics online that would celebrate it and see him as a hero. Oh, you did a great thing. You did a good thing, right? So no, I am not going to speak out against companies who are disincentivizing people from promoting violence. Because again, when you come out here and you celebrate that's what you're doing. You're incentivizing people to go out here and to commit acts of violence. We saw what they did with Luigi Mangione. They made him a deity. And then you have copycats. Copycats are popping up because of people celebrating. So again, we know for a fact that celebrating this type of stuff causes more of it. So no, I think that corporate America holding these people accountable, okay, for what essentially amounts to threats of violence, because that's essentially where it's at this point. When you openly celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, no, I'm not going to speak out against that. I'm not going to say that a company has to employ somebody or platform somebody who holds viewpoints like that. No, I'm not going to. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because again, there's a difference between canceling somebody for saying the N-word at 16 versus canceling somebody for openly celebrating political assassinations, which leads to more political assassinations. I think those are two different things. I know these people think that the N-word hurts, right, when people say it, but it don't hurt as bad as an actual assassination, right? Somebody actually losing their life. And then people celebrating that and inspiring more people to go and to commit these types of violent acts, right? It's not the same thing. So again, I don't see this as cancel culture. I see this as accountability. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if leftists are upset with it, then they don't have anybody to be upset with but themselves, right? But MAGA, we're not going to save you, right? We're not going to save you from the consequences of your words, right? Because again, these are the same people who are arguing. They're making an argument that, well, what happened to Charlie Kirk was a consequence of his words, right? But when leftists get fired as a consequence of words, oh, now all of a sudden that's too far, right? But for somebody to get assassinated because of their words, leftists say, oh, well, he did say bad things, right? This is what they do. They shrug it off. Well, he did say bad things. But when they lose their job, not their life, but their job, oh, this is going too far. This is too much, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. So, no, you're not going to get me with the, oh, you're supposed to be against cancel culture. Why do you support this? No. This is not canceling. This is accountability. They're two different things. So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.